about them Irish?
I can't take it anymore. I need a national championship.
This is the Four Horsemen podcast.
And we are back for a low energy, low T recap of the weekend that was. This is the Four Horsemen podcast with only two of the horsemen today. It's me, P-Wagon, and I'm joined by Steve. Dylan is over in the Emerald Isle, reporting live from where our ancestors are from. Steve, how are you?
I'm okay. Things could certainly be better. Things could also be significantly worse. So, all things considered, we're here for another episode. We didn't get the result that we were looking for in the game, but all you can do is just hop right back on the wagon and try once again. So that's where I stand. How about yourself?
It's the most frustrating thing in the world because I told my wife there was 4 ways that the game could go.
Yeah.
It could have been a horrific blowout. It could have been a wonderful blowout for us. It could have been that Notre Dame drives down the field and wins on the last second field goal, which would have been wonderful for us. Or it could have ended just how it ended, where we were dangled along for 3 quarters. Hope was there, and hope's the most dangerous drug in the world because it makes you believe.
And then you get choked out.
And then they drive the ball 95 yards down the field and take off 7 minutes of the clock, and your offense is impotent in the whole second half. So I'm not sad. I'm not mad. I'm frustrated. I think, like, I don't know. I've been on the receiving end of this as a fan and as a coach, and you just feel like the best way to describe it is just like, what the fuck? You know, I wish I had more poignant words to say about this, but it's just a loss that hurts. So that moment of silence there was for a undefeated season. But we can go 13-1. We will go 13-1, and we'll be having a podcast on January 10th, celebrating the national championship. So, really, today's agenda, we're going to hit the hurry up offense. I have a little bit of stuff that I want to say. We'll do a recap of the game. We'll go over Marshall. We have a quick sentence or two from Dylan, and then we'll do our pits of the week. So that's where we're at. So before we get into Steve and mine's unfiltered opinions about the weekend, we're going to start with Dylan. Dylan is, again, over in the Emerald Isle. I will try to read this in my best Canadian. My thoughts. We had a chance to win that game. This is a moral victory, just like Georgia twice. We need to start winning these games. Agreed. Steve, do you agree?
Agreed.
2, Freeman did an excellent job getting the team ready. Reese's play calling in the second half was disappointing. Agreed. 3,
Agreed.
Our punter was excellent, but theirs was a bit better, and it was a big factor in the outcome. I disagree here.
I wasn't paying much to the Ohio State punter, but John Sott did have a great game. His first punt was less than elite, but after that, he really settled in.
So the thing about that, thing about Sott, and we don't give out Horsemen for losses, but the thing about John Sott, he was like a sniper out there. Like, he was methodical in where he wanted to put the ball. He proved he had a big leg. If anything, their kicker was better than ours, but it wasn't turbo foot kicking. He hurt his groin before the game, so we had Yoakum out there, a walk-on kicker. So really, I think John Sott wins the punting game. Blake Grupe wins the kicking game, having 4 points, which was, 40% of our points. And their kick-off starter wins that. So we're 2 out of 3 in special teams right there. And I think Saad's going to be a weapon throughout the rest of the year.
Agreed. Now on to Dylan's fourth point.
If we run the table, we're in. But let's just take it one game at a time and enjoy the Freeman process unfold. 2023 onwards will be our championship window.
Mostly agree.
Yeah, I'm 50-50 on that. Buckner was really good. They need to open up the offense up more. The offensive line struggled, and it hurt us. Patterson was missed. Agreed.
Very largely agree.
We beat Marshall by 40+.
Lock them in at 55-0.
And finally, Ireland is nice, and I'm having a good time so far. Already met ND people, and we have a pub to go to for games. The pub is called Kennedy's. Shout out Kennedy's.
So yeah, our baby boy is finishing up his third and final year of law school again out in Dublin, I believe. So good for Dylan and Dylan, as you're listening. Thanks for sending in the thoughts. I know this is obviously a less than thrilling week to be sending in any sort of thoughts, but by and large he's mostly correct in a lot of his points, and I think there could be some good back and forth debate otherwise with some points that you or I might have disagreed with here or there, but by and large Dylan per usual is on pretty much right on target. You're gonna have your takes, I'm gonna have my takes, but first I think that we should do something that Notre Dame was completely incapable of doing on Saturday, which is let's have a hurry up offense and get into the end zone here. What do you think, pal?
I love it. And mine is pretty poignant. So no one gatekeeps Notre Dame football like Notre Dame football fans. They're some of the best people on the planet and the worst people on the planet at the same time. Like, if you have a different opinion than our group of humans on Notre Dame Twitter, you would act like they think you're like just this not up to their standard. Like, it just, after the game on Saturday, there was discourse, and a lot of the discourse was around, firing Tommy Rees after a game. I dissented with that, and my mentions were on fire. A lot of the discourse was around how Freeman hasn't had his team play a full game in 2 games that he's coached. And I saw someone who said that Brian Kelly had teams who did that. And just the groupthink mentality of attacking other people for having a different opinion, it's just ridiculous. Like, Notre Dame fans, I call you Chicken Littles when you think the sky is falling, but right now you're just being assholes. Like, we lost a game. Yeah, it sucks. I was really frustrated about it, but don't attack someone for having a goddamn opinion. That's all.
Yeah, there's definitely room for dissent, and the natural thing that we've been all been conditioned towards is to be negative and pessimistic, and the sky is falling, because for a long time it was. But this isn't 2005 anymore. This isn't, okay, you have one chance at a good season and then everything else is gone. I mean, we're 5 years into 10-win seasons every single year, playoff appearances, New Year's Six appearances. We're not even at where we like the journey to being all the way back yet. We're still in the rebuild, and we're getting there. So I can understand how some people might, and I used to be one of them, and sometimes I still can be, negative Nancy. But on the flip side of that, it's okay to show a little bit of hope, and it's okay for people not to inherently become extremely negative. So that's my agreement with you on that end.
Yeah, and
now
before we get into yours, just to make a point abundantly clear, have your opinions. Do whatever you want with your opinions. But the thing after games of just infighting and arguing with people, it makes no sense. The game ended at 11:30. I was up till 2:30 in the morning just reading Twitter. I went on a little tweet rampage, but people were in people's mentions, Matt Salerno's mentions. Like, these people that wear the blue and gold that wear the helmet, that wear the headset on Saturdays, they're also people. Hard to believe, but they're people too, and they have feelings too. They're not just robots out there. So just chill the fuck out. That's my end point. There's my field goal. Just chill out. Like, be nice to people.
Fair enough. I wholeheartedly agree with you, buddy. And now for my 30 seconds of the hurry up offense, and ultimately I think we'll open up to discussion after because I think it leads into a broader point. But on the clock now, we as a program, it has to get to the next level, and we've now seen and we've gotten a taste of it. We've gotten the taste in this game, being down, being up at halftime, being down by only 4 points into the fourth quarter with it absolutely control of that game at certain points, and it felt like we legitimately had a chance to win. This was a game where we were touted as lucky to if we stayed within 21 points of them, and we were right there. So the frustrating thing to me and what's driving me insane is I still think that just because of the pass, we inherently as a program are starting to play scared or not being able to get up to the challenge. And then it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, and then it's quicksand. And that's what's frustrating. And I really do think that we need to start having the attitude of winners and champions and be like the 1980s you who were just like, you know what, we're going to go out here and we're going to kick the shit out of you and we're going to have a smile on our face doing it. Because right now we absolutely lack that killer instinct.
Yeah, I mean, you saw it on the defense. I think a lot of it has to do with Al Golden just having the NFL mentality. The defense was flying out there, and outside of one cover zero double safety blitz against a presumptive top 5 NFL quarterback, the defense played well. And JSN being out hurt them, helped us. Mm-hmm. But the boys were flying around out there. Bo Bauer made a play. I think he was at either the middle of the field or the left hash, and he made a play on the right hash. And he made the tackle. Like, he was playing with his hair on fire. And you didn't see a Notre Dame team who looked scared to be in the horseshoe. You saw a team that knew that they deserved to be there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you are correct. Al Golden and Marcus, because we know he's at the helm and he's very defensive minded. I mean, they had this team ready on the defensive side of the football. If you would have told me we would have only given up 21 points exactly a week ago, I would have laughed in your face and said, okay, how much would Notre Dame have won by? Right, so that's how monumental of a task and how impressive it was to only hold them to 21, and that basically they effectively went scoreless in the third quarter, with the exception of finally knocking it in with like 30 seconds left. Right, so that was such an incredible performance, and this game, 7 minutes left in the third is when Michael Mayer had that catch and run on third down. It was a 17-yard reception. He fumbled it, but then he got it back and everything. That was a big third down that we converted. But then, and that's the only time in this game that Notre Dame, from a probability standpoint, was actually favored to win. That's when it flipped over to 51.4% chance of Notre Dame winning. Like, there was a legitimate chance at that point. I think we were up 10-7. Yeah. Yep. And then the next 3 plays, Buckner sacked for a yard, loss. Then on 2nd and 11, they run Tyree. He runs at 3 yards. And then now you have 3rd and 8. Buckner has to drop back, and it's incomplete, and you're on your own 35-yard line. So then you're forced to punt. And then they punt. And then OSU takes over at their own 30, marches 70 yards, and then they go up. They score, and they go up 14-10. And it's like, maybe don't run the ball on 2nd down and 11. Maybe don't have Buckner drop back to pass on 1st down to the point where he can get sacked, or do something unique. Like, set him up for success, because why do you have a guy on his own 35-yard line facing 3rd down and 8 trying to make a play to extend a lead? You're not setting him up for success. And because of that, we lost the field position game, and because we lost the field position game, we lost the actual game. So it's just, we were right there, man. It was so close for the taking. I don't know, My mind's going in a million different directions, thinking about one play or two plays or three different plays that could have won this game or had a different outcome. And unfortunately, I mean, with the exception of the cover zero double blitz, which was basically inexcusable from an otherwise perfect defensive game, I don't know. The coaching staff, very, very good, but not great. What are your thoughts? What do you see in here?
If you just look at the data, we went over the score. We went over all of that. You have to look at the fact that there was no turnovers. There was a fumble, but not a turnover. But Notre Dame had 5 penalties to Ohio State's 7. So if you start moving the numbers down, Ohio State should have had 15 penalties, and that's the change of the game there. There may have been one holding call the entire night, but what I really want to focus on is that after those couple big plays by Ohio State that should have been reviewed, the tackle false started each of those times. I don't want to speculate, but if it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's a Buckeye jumping off sides, so they can't review the play.
All right.
So those little game of inches type of things changes the entire game there. The positives, the game plan overall, I like running the ball. Probably shouldn't have run it as much as we did. 2.5 yards per carry is not good. 3 sacks allowed is also not good. Our pass rush was abysmal, probably because of the holdings there. But really, if you look at Buckner in the first half, 8 for 8, 128 yards and 22 rushing yards, that looked good. Estime in the I formation.
The fullback dive was immaculate, man.
Have fun running or playing against that all year. Like, just overall, there's a lot of good to take away from this. Tariq Bracy, Clarence Lewis, Benjamin Morrison all look good. Jaden Mickey played with his hair on fire. Like,
the corners were fantastic. The secondary was fantastic. It's incredible how
one bad play. Lorenzo Style 54-yard reception for the first pass of the game. Salerno Circuit's catch that Chris Fowler thought was an interception because he's an asshole. Like, there's so much good. Tommy Rees needs to get better. I don't know if he's turtling. I don't know what's happening there, but he will. He will get better. We've been outscored 37-7 in the second half since the Fiesta Bowl on Saturday. That's not good. So there's just a lot. I think defensively, Howard Cross looks great. Chris Smith is a load of a human. So that's where we're at there.
What I can't understand is they ran this ball 30 times in the game, and Chris Tyree only got 6 of those carries when he was your running back averaging the most, which was 4.7 yards per carry. And obviously, I just talked about that, that 3-yard rush or a couple-yard rush on 2nd and 11 that shouldn't have happened. But even if that was on 1st down and 10, then it's 2nd and 7. It's kind of just a different look, all things considered.
They're also the number 2 team in the country. Like, let's call a spade there.
Someone
like, what?
And Ohio State, you have to give Ohio State credit. I mean, we thought that we were going to dominate their trenches, and in a way, they kind of dominated ours. Like their offensive line was way more impressive than anticipated, and because our defensive line just simply wasn't getting there. We were not. Our defensive line was doing a good job at not giving up a massive play, but they weren't making the superstar plays necessary in order to be a playoff contender. We should have had at least 2 more sacks in that game. We just simply didn't get them. And that it changes the whole complexion. But yeah, I mean, just Chris Tyree only 6 carries is crazy to me. And just a point that I wanted to get before I throw it back to you. If you are admittedly weak or thin at the wide receiver position, and you have Chris Tyree who runs a 4.3 40 in pads, and you want Estime to be in the game or Logan Diggs, and if you're trying to get some offense, like, why would you can put Diggs, Estime, and Tyree on the field all at the same time.
Yep.
Like, you come up with unique packages. Get the ball into the hands of guys that have speed. You have Braden Lenzy and Chris Tyree on this offense with Tyler Buckner's speed, and you're just not utilizing it enough. So yeah, I mean, that statistic about being massively outgained and outscored in the second halves of the last two games we played. I don't know. I want to give Tommy a pretty long leash because I think he deserves it. But if he's not going to see this and come out firing, it's like we can't play scared against big teams anymore. Got to take some chances. And for the chances that we did take, the Salerno catch, even the Braden Lenzy catch down the sideline, Buckner's not afraid to push this thing down the field. And you have an elite athlete with a great arm. Utilize it. You know, it's like we're afraid to be an incredible offense, which I don't know. It's very perplexing to me. And I'll let you wrap up the final thoughts on Ohio State. We've talked about it, quite frankly, way too much at this point. I just want to get over that completely dog shit state and program.
It just overall, you need to put your best guys on the field wherever you can. Put Lindsay at slot. Put Tyree at slot. Like, mix it up. Get fast guys on the field. On the first play of the game, Mayer whiffed on his block on the M-man on line, but he made up for it. So maybe put, Davis Sherwood in there. Do different things that teams aren't expecting. I want to establish a run. You don't want to establish a run. We'll see what happens there. At the end of the day, you have to put the best players on the field. The next tough game is going to be UNC with Drake May. That's only going to be tough because of his offense. Their defense should be a shell of themselves, and Buckner shouldn't run all over them just like App State did. So overall, I'm so glad we're done with Ohio. I don't want to talk about the state again until January 9th when we're beating them to win a national title. I have nothing else to say. We're on to Marshall.
Agreed. Let's get on to the Thundering Herd, I suppose they're called. What are they, a MAC team these days? AAC?
Well, the Marshall Thundering Herd from Huntington, West Virginia, established in 1837, is actually a Sun Belt team. The Sun Belt.
Fun Belt.
Yes, indeed. First time playing Notre Dame. Their most notable alumni, Mike D'Antoni, he's an NBA coach. Billy Crystal, who did not graduate from there. Michael W. Smith, also did not graduate there. And Randy Moss, who should have been at Notre Dame.
And Byron Leftwich.
Sure. Their head coach is Charles Huff. He is a Saban assistant. He was 7-6 last year. The second year as a head coach. He's coached at Alabama, Mississippi State, and Penn State. Really, Marco Bellinelli also was from. No, he was not. My notes were wrong there. Carry on. They've never played Notre Dame before, like I said. New opponent. They've never beaten the Ashland YMCA or Ironton YMCA or the Charleston YMCA. So they've lost 3 games to YMCA teams. But really, they looked good last weekend. I watched the game because I'm sick in the head. They played Norfolk State, an FCS program. They won 55-3. They were up 38-0 at halftime, and they ran for 380 yards and 7.5 yards per carry, which I'm pretty sure you could do as well against Norfolk State.
Basically exactly those statistics, the 300 some odd yards rushing, and then also the 55-3 with blowing them out 38-0 at halftime. That's effectively a carbon copy blueprint of exactly what I anticipate Notre Dame's going to do to Marshall. We know that Notre Dame's going to win. We know that they're going to blow the doors off them, not to get way too far out ahead of our skis. We're going to get in. We can just throw in your prediction really quickly, but then after your prediction, what I want to hear from you more interestingly, because this is obviously just kind of a throwaway game, but what do you want to see? What is it that you want to see in terms of formations, play calling, personnel on the fields, even just an attitude or anything? What is it that you want to see from this Notre Dame program as they go into home this upcoming Saturday in South Bend, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, to presumably just absolutely blow the doors off of the Thundering Herd of Marshall? What do you want to see?
Sure. So they do have Columby as a quarterback, Henry Columby from Utah State and Texas Tech. He is a good quarterback. Won't be good enough for Notre Dame. Notre Dame wins this game 73-0. I want points, but I really want to see a run game. I want to see them to have Estime run for 100-something yards, Tyree to run 100-something yards, and I want Foskey to have 4 sacks in the game. I do not want to see Pine in this game. This is a confidence builder for Buckner. You have to make sure that Buckner feels confident. Play the young guys. Play Merriweather, Raritan, Stays, Watts, all of them. Let them play in the third and fourth quarter. Give them some run. Let them shine. Let them build confidence. I want this game to be a confidence-building game. I want us to use our size, our fucking Power 5 size, to run the ball down the throat. I want every goddamn student doing push-ups to have a pump at the end of the game so they can go to the linebacker after and crush Long Island iced teas. I want Notre Dame to finish a fucking game. Bury them. Don't let them stay in the game like last year against Toledo. Bury them in the first quarter, bury them deeper in the second, and then bury them the deepest in the third and the fourth.
Agreed. And just kind of with that Toledo reference, I think one of the issues with last year was the offensive line that wouldn't really allow for us to come out of the gates and score a lot. Like there was a lot of feeling out the other team's offense or defense more accurately before we could finally get into the end zone. So we never got up big enough to kind of run away with the game. That's obviously, just pivoting here. That's one of the keys to the game that I want to see is, yes, this has to be up by 5 touchdowns by halftime, or else this is considered a failure. Get off to a hot start. Let Buckner ball out. This is a kid that had 6,100 yards his sophomore year of high school. He led the country as a true sophomore. And now, obviously, he lost out in his junior and senior season. So there's some rust that had to get shaken off in his first college start. He played pretty damn well, all things considered. But they have to absolutely dominate the trenches. We cannot allow a single sack. And it's not just that I want us to run the ball down their throat. I want to average over 7 yards per carry. It is no longer very good. We have to be demoralizing. Because if you don't get to that as a program, you do not hold a national championship trophy. So yeah, the loss left get back. Unfortunately, we can't. I would tell everyone don't panic because we still have a path to the playoff. There's realistically only 3 teams that have a potential to go 12-0, and all 3 of them are at the top, ranked 1, 2, and 3. I don't think anyone ranked 4 or lower is going to go 12-0. So Notre Dame still has a chance to get in at 11-1. We still have playoff hopes. It's okay. And another thing that I want to see is I want to see multiple running back sets. We need to find ways to get Estime and Tyree and Diggs on the field all at the same time.
Yep.
So defensively, just turnovers. We did not have any turnovers on offense, which was good against Ohio State, but we didn't create any turnovers. So I want to see defensive backs, if they do give up a catch, which they shouldn't against Marshall, you need to punch the ball out. And we need to have tipped passes at the line of scrimmage. But I'm sorry?
They were trying that against Ohio State. They just couldn't get the ball out.
But they couldn't. That's the point. So now I want to see them actually execute. They were attempting to, but we need to see turnovers. We need to see the defensive line tipping the ball at the line of scrimmage, getting that ball straight up in the air for Bo Bauer to make an interception. It's one thing to be dominant against them. It's another to embarrass them. And I think that's the precipice of where we're at, is to get to that level. And I think that level is ultimately what it takes to win playoff games. So those are the things that I would like to see. Obviously, everyone wants to see it. Just, specifically, I want to see 7 yards per carry. I want to see pulling guards that open up these massive gaping holes. I want to see multiple running back sets and have the chance to really see this athleticism of Buckner. And if Buckner plays the first drive, maybe first 2 drives of the second half, and then you let Drew Pine come in, that's fine with me, because by that point it should be 45-0. So just dominate, blow the doors off of them. And Tommy Rees, if ever there was an opportunity to show that you can open up a playbook and have some fun, now's your chance, man. Now's your chance, because you got to get these guys to buy in early in order for them to be engaged all year long to bring home that 11-0 or 11-1. So
give me Steve Angeli in the fourth quarter.
Steve Angeli, yeah, would love to see him in this game. That's another want. That's what I want to see. So great point there, Mr. Wagon. So I've pretty much exhausted everything I want to say about that stupid state of Ohio and its programs within. I've pretty much exhausted talking about this horrific, terrible, stupid Sun Belt team that we're going to blow the doors off of. Is there anything else concerning the state of Notre Dame football that we want to address this week, Mr. Wagon? I'll leave the floor to you and your thoughts.
Yeah, just real quick. It's the there is a concern with McPherson and his groin. So special teams wise, he's not getting the start this week. Yoakum is starting there. Yoakum was serviceable against Ohio State. So I'm a little bit concerned about that. The only other concern that I do have is that the fans this week are going to be ignorant about Marshall. I like Marshall as a program. I just don't make any plane crash jokes. Like, just don't do it.
Yeah.
You probably, if you stop listening by now, you can turn off the podcast after this for all I care. Just be respectful. That's all I'm looking for. I'm seeing an overwhelming. Maybe it was because it was Ohio State. I don't think they're going to be like that against Marshall. Just be respectful, and people don't listen to us. So, we're just yelling into a empty room at this point. But just if you think you're going to make a funny joke, don't do it.
Agreed. Yeah. We should beat the doors off them, but we should do it with class.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind the celebration penalty though.
Fair enough. All right. I mean, that pretty much wraps it up. Again, this was a little bit on the lower energy side of things. We understand that entirely. That's just the combination of a less than thrilling loss, and then also Dylan didn't have an opportunity. But we're going to try to incorporate Dylan a little bit more throughout the season. We're going to get way more into our normal segments, going over EPA and the advanced analytics. We're going to go over stats a little bit more. We're going to have our 4 horsemen going forward. This was kind of just just felt it was something that we just needed to get through. Was the game, and then just the podcast. We just kind of need to advance and move this ball forward as a program. Talking about Notre Dame football, and then as a program, the podcast. So
we will never miss a week. That's our promise to you. But real quick, final thing. I don't know who won last week because I don't keep stats. We're going to go through our games of the week.
Oh, yeah. We got to do our picks. Yeah.
Yeah. So real quick, we're going to fire this real fast. Like Bama, Texas. Bama is a 20-point favorite at the time of this recording.
Well, Bama's going to blow them out, but I'm going to be heavily rooting for Texas.
Everyone is on Bama. Dylan is also on Bama. We have Pittsburgh, Tennessee.
Tennessee's a little bit too fun, and they're at home, so I'm riding with them. So is our colleague Dylan.
I will take Pitt only because of the close personal connection I have to Pittsburgh. Kentucky, Florida. That's a joke for any of my friends listening to this. Kentucky, Florida.
Both myself and Dylan are once again in agreement, and we're choosing Florida. I think, I think they got a little bit of spice down there.
Yeah, a trap game here, Kentucky. Give me the Wildcats all day. Then we have the lowly state of California, Southern Cal, Stanford.
Would be hilarious to see Stanford win. I just don't see how they're going to. They really need to tear it down to build it back up. So riding with USC, and so is Dylan.
I am as well, but it pains me. I put Iowa State on here, but we're all on Iowa. But we shifted that to Baylor, BYU. What you got for Baylor, BYU?
You know what? I think that I think very highly of Baylor, but I also think that BYU, I think they lost last year 38-24 in this game. I think BYU has a little bit better of an opportunity this year. So I'm going to ride with BYU. So is Dylan. He's going to take the Cougs. How about yourself?
I'll take BYU only because it will help Notre Dame's strength of schedule. So as a company person, that's my stance there. I am on record saying I don't care about this game whatsoever. Actually, probably I care negative amounts about this game. It doesn't move the needle at all for me. Yeah, that's where I'm at with that. And that's just me being honest. Like, you had to tell me that Baylor and BYU were playing and surprised me.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, I don't really care about either of those programs in particular, but I do think that Baylor does have outside playoff, implications, and obviously BYU is relevant to us. I think that would wrap it up. We don't know the records of last week. Everyone, thank you so much for listening and continuing to engage with us. We create content, we tweet a lot. We try to be as engaging as possible on Twitter. We're working on the Instagram little by little. The more followers we get, the more we'll post. I promise you that. And yeah, just continue to like, share, comment, and if you could subscribe and throw in a 5-star review, that would help us massively. Which again, we appreciate all of our diehards. So from the 4 Horsemen out to you guys, less than ideal, but hey, you know what? The road is still ahead of us that we got to travel our path, and we can get this done. We just gotta stay the course and stay faithful. Go Irish. Those are my closing thoughts. Wagon, see us out.
Yeah, be nice to everyone. Don't fight with each other, win or loss. The herd's coming to town. Mass is at the Basilica. Everything is right in the world. And we're going to beat the herd by 70. So go Irish, beat Marshall.